You have a lot to get to today.
We do have a lot to get to. We're watching some storms this afternoon. They're right now to our west, mainly in Vermont and New York. And the air that we have in place right now is not incredibly unstable or anything like that, but there's enough energy in the atmosphere that these storms could carry some into Maine. I think heavy rain and lightning, obviously the biggest impact from these, but some of the severe storms could contain some strong wind gusts, and there is a low chance that a tornado forms somewhere in the region, more likely in Vermont or New Hampshire this afternoon. We don't have any severe weather happening now. It's really just some rain, and there are some breaks in the rain on the mid-coast and in parts of southern Maine too at this point. Some downpours rolling through the Oxford Hills up into the western mountains, steady rain in a lot of central Maine, but again, it's much lighter down toward the mid-coast. These cells individually are moving along pretty quickly, which means the rain does vary in intensity. At times it pours and then it lightens up a little bit. Coos County, New Hampshire, we do have some thunderstorms here. Those are moving to the northeast, more back in the northeast kingdom of Vermont, but it's really this line we have to watch as it approaches around 4 o'clock this afternoon. Seeing it as a line is more of an indication that we'll probably have strong gusty winds as opposed to tornadoes, but there could be some rotation within the line just given this storm is so strong and there's a lot of wind energy in the atmosphere. And then as this crosses through the state, it will lose a lot of its severe aspects, meaning the strong gusty winds and the potential for any rotation. So the strongest storms today should be to the west, particularly in Vermont and New Hampshire, but some sneak into western and southern Maine. And as I mentioned, there is a chance we have some rotating storms. It would more likely be closer to the New Hampshire border, and then they lose some of their punch as they head east. So we'll show you this here on the hour by hour. 2 o'clock this afternoon, showers, downpours, a few rumbles of thunder, mainly in the mountains and up north, but a spotty shower to the south. Here is the line that we'll be watching by 4 o'clock, moving through the Mount Washington Valley. And again, plan on thunder, lightning, heavy rain, possibly some strong gusty winds. And we'll be watching the radar closely to see if there is any rotation within these storms. And this probably is during our evening news, but if there's anything before then, of course, we'll pop online or on air as necessary to let you know. The line itself, though, should be pretty quick moving. By 6 o'clock, it's past the Maine-New Hampshire border with some clearing, moving through central and down east Maine. At this point, it's just thunder, lightning, some heavy rain. And then after that, it all passes east later tonight, and we'll start to clear things out. After today, our weather isn't amazing, but it's definitely improved. Tomorrow and through the weekend, this storm system sits up here to the north, the same one I showed you that's kind of responsible for the thunderstorms. And it just kind of unravels with some waves of showers that pivot around it. So there is a chance for a pop-up shower tomorrow in northern Maine. And then over the weekend, all of us have a chance of seeing a brief shower. I think the best weather tomorrow is probably at the coastline and in southern Maine. We'll have partly to mostly sunny skies, while the day probably has a little bit of a different vibe to it tomorrow in northern Maine. It'll be cooler there with more clouds and a chance for a shower. And then as we head into Saturday, I think we have a mix of sun and clouds, but also the chance for a random shower coming through. But a lot of the time this weekend will be dry. It's just not going to be very warm. It won't be humid. So it feels a little bit more like spring than mid-June, I think, this weekend. Seas building 5 to 7 feet today. There is a gale warning up on the water with a gusty southeast wind. All right, so we'll watch out for those storms as they come in from the west this evening. Again, I think the strongest ones are probably to our west. It's just a matter of how quickly do the severe aspects of those storms start to weaken as they cross through the state. Tomorrow's nice, especially in southern coastal Maine, a little cloudier and cooler up north, and then some pop-up showers both weekend days, guys.
Okay, plenty to watch over the next several days. Ryan, thank you.
You're welcome.